Okay. Hi everyone. Welcome to episode whatever what episode is this? Welcome to a new episode of Architecture Community Sessions. So today we'll do more sharing of tech stuff. I guess I can start. Um, so what I would like to let me share my screen first. Sharing screen. Can you see my screen? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I would like to share is about Parcel. So Parcel is a module bundler, so similar to Webpack or Rollout. They serve the same purpose to build your apps so that you can serve them later on to your users. But the nice thing with Parcel, I mean, like one of the reason why I like them is the zero configuration feature. So I mean, I've used Webpack a lot, but one thing with Webpack is you have to write your own Webpack config, and also if you use boilerplates, for example, for React or Vue, um, those are nice. They're helpful for like starting a quick project. Um, Although for me, there are times where I just want the very bare minimum application, and I don't really necessarily want to write like Webpack configs for those. So for those cases, I tend to choose Parcel to build my app. So let's see how to use it in action. So here I have a sample React application. It's very simple. Let me zoom in more. Okay. It's very simple application. It only depends on the app and the app DOM, um, the source. Oops. Um, I have an HTML file that's loading main.jsx directly, and main.jsx just imports React, imports an image, imports my styles, which is in Sass, and then creates a very simple React component, and then renders this. And so here's my Sass, which is Sass that we need to compile, and then here's a sample image. So let's say this is a very bare minimum React application and I want to serve it or build it. And one way we can do it is, let's say we use Webpack, we write our Webpack config, but one faster way that I tend to prefer, like in these cases where I want like quick prototypes and things like that, is to use Parcel. So to use Parcel, we first need to install Parcel bundler from npm or Yarn, whatever you're using. Okay, this will take some time. I should have installed this beforehand. Um, oh, internet. Okay, so while that's installing, let's take a look at more parcel features. So yeah, it bundles all your assets similar to what Webpack does. It automatically transforms your code, even if it's in React or in JSX or a Vue component or Sass, whatever um, language it is or framework it's written in, it can really um, transform them back to JS or CSS, things like that. And then Parcel itself doesn't have its own config file. But if you want to configure your plugins, you have to use your own config file. For example, if you're using Bubble, if you want to configure Bubble, you need to use Bubble's config file, which is either Bubble RC or things like that. But Parcel itself doesn't have its own. Um, what else? So it has built-in support for hot module replacement or on real-time or like live reloads. Let's see, is it done? Okay, not yet. Take a look at more features or documentation. Um, so Parcel supports a lot of asset types. I think it bases its support on the file extension. So if it's JavaScript, it will, if the file extension is either JS, JSX, JSC, JSM, or JS, it will automatically, Parcel will already know to build it as a JavaScript file. And if the file extension is Vue, for example, then it will automatically know to build it as a Vue.js file. So the nice thing about this is Parcel, okay, installation is done. Parcel will automatically detect this for us. So if you remember, I only installed Parcel and I can easily run Parcel src index.html. So you pass in here your entry point or like your main file that you want to, where you want to start building the app. So all I have to do is run Parcel serve and it will automatically detect, okay, it's just X, it's using SAS, so it will automatically install the necessary dependencies to build your app. And wait a little bit. So okay, it's running here. Let's try to visit that localhost 124. It's not yet done. Okay, so it detected that we're using SAS, so it installs the SAS npm module. Okay. Cool. Okay, finally done. So it's now, it should be running here. So here's our React application. We didn't write any config to build it. But as you can see, it's working properly. It even supports hot module replacement. So if I edit like the component, for example, and let's say hello, Uncaught, section. So it automatically like replay, update the page and things like that. So that's nice. Um, let's say we want to build this app already, so we can just tap it and then just run. Instead of parcel serve, we use parcel build. And okay, while that's building, we'll skip to the next section. Um, one nice thing, one way to expand the functionalities of parcel is through plugins. So plugins, there are a lot of different plugins for parcel. For example, there are plugins to minify images, for example, or purge unused CSS. So here's a really cool repo from Parcel on GitHub called Awesome Parcel. They list all like the popular community plugins, so such as for image modification or bundle visualizer, similar to Webpack bundle analyzer and different other things, depending on what you use. So we will take a look at one parcel in a bit. I mean, one plugin in a bit. So after we run build, parcel build, it generates all the assets inside the disk folder here. And then you can just deploy this in a static site hosting environment, or I can try serving it. So if I serve, you see we are seeing the build files. Parcel automatically adds the hash name, the hash and the URLs and it's unique. So that's how with Parcel, that's how we build React apps. We just install Parcel and then Parcel build. Then Parcel will take care of all the dependencies. So let's try to use a plugin. So our sample image here is like 180 kilobytes. Let's try to use the image unification plugin here to like compress our sample image. So here we install it. Um, there's plugin. So I have to use a specific version because the latest version apparently only works for the latest, the beta, I think, or the next, or a future release of Parcel. So, but the idea is to just install the plugin. And okay, while we're waiting, um, let's take a look at what else are available in Parcel. So yeah, there's ParcelJS, which takes care of, so when you build your files, when you have a CSS file in your app, ParcelJS will remove all those CSS that are not being used. What else are in here? I'm not familiar with all of these. Inliner, what's this? Okay, so it inlines all your resources, your SSJS files. That's cool for small files, I guess. PWA manifest, if you're building a progressive web app, you can create your manifest file, web app manifest file. So, and all you have to do is install the plugin. Okay, is it done? Okay, should be done. So, all I did now, I just installed Parcel plugin in Machine, and the next time I build, awkward silence while waiting for the build. And the next time we build, we see that the image now is automatically compressed by the plugin. So it's now 19 kilobytes instead of what was it, 180 kilobytes. So let's check it in the browser, and everything still works. The image is now smaller. So that's Parcel with React. I also created a sample one with Vue.js. That's just to see like a comparison of how it's been work, how to use Parcel with this with Vue.js. So let's try. And before we look at the project, let's install our dependencies first. So all we need to do is install Parcel. Let's hide that for now. So here, my sample Vue project only has Vue installed, and here's here's the HTML file. Just a skeleton HTML file with like a mounting point for our component and loading our entry point script, and our entry point script, like our main Vue.js file is just importing Vue.js, importing our top level component, importing our same SAS file, and then rendering the Vue component, just loading an image, and same image as before, same SAS file as before, and we're installing Parcel Bundler. Okay, while waiting, let's take a look at more plugins. Um, okay, maybe let's not look at more plugins. Okay, while waiting, do you have any questions? Oh, wait. Oh no, wait. Stop sharing.
I have a
Yes.
question. So, I can see that parcel is nice. It's simple. Wait, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so I have a question. So, um, parcel, there's no config file, but I'm not a front end developer, but I've seen like Webpack's config file very that are very like complicated or like intense. So there must be something that parcel can't do, but Webpack can do. Can you like tell us what that is, or is there any?
Yes. So there are definitely yeah, the fact that you can configure Webpack, there's really a lot that you can do uh, with uh, with with Webpack in terms of like customizing the config. Um, Let me think of something. Uh, I think for like the standard needs for like web applications, like let's say like unification, um, what else we need, like compression of files and like source maps. A lot of them um, are supported by both. So Parcel can do the same things as Webpack, although there's lesser configurability for 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 Parcel compared to Webpack. So I don't have like an actual example of something that Parcel can do that Webpack can, but there's definitely lesser capabilities in Parcel compared to how flexible Webpack can be in terms of like all the loaders and plugins. I think one thing with Parcel is okay. Okay, I have an example now. One thing with Parcel is you have to depend on like the default like plugins that Parcel will use to build your app. For example, to build Vue, it will automatically use like I think a Parcel plugin Vue. So you don't necessarily have control on that one. It will just automatically use it. So one limitation with that is if you're playing with like the latest version of Vue, like Vue 3 to use the new features, there's a sort of a delay in with Parcel support for those. So you're kind of limited to like let's say for now. Okay, maybe not now. I haven't tried it recently, but like earlier, like few months ago, you can't build like new Vue 3 app, for example, with Parcel unless you use the beta version of Parcel also, which supports like the new plugins and stuff. So there's that. But with Webpack, you can just use the correct loader, the correct plugins, configure it so that it works with Vue. I mean, Vue 3, for example, then it will just work. So, um, yeah, that one. Is, are you satisfied with that, Simon?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I will share back my screen
Uh,
just to show the Vue
of
example.
course.
So we have our Vue app, and all we did really is that install Parcel, and then I can Parcel build it again. And okay, we won't wait for this because this will take a while, like before, because it still needs to like install a lot of plugins that it will use. But we'll just take a look at just to show, just waiting for, okay, so here it's able to show that, okay, it's Vue.js, so it will use like the correct Vue plugins to build this. And yeah, and after that, after this builds, it will be outputted to a disk folder and we can just serve it like before and everything will just work the same. If I want image compression, I can install the same image min plugin and it will still work. So yeah, that's basically it for Parser. Okay, if you have more questions.
I have question. Um,
I'm not sure, but I
is
can't
my
see
voice clear?
Kevin.
I can actually hear Kevin. I can hear.
Maybe it's just me.
How about
Kadang
Faye?
ano mo ya?
Oh, no, I can't hear. Oh no, technical difficulties.
Okay.
Okay, just say it, then
Okay.
So
we'll
actually,
tell Arnel.
okay. So ako na lang i-type. Ay, ako na lang itabi eh. Ano, wala man si Arnelle.
Huh?
Hello? Ano,
Yes,
can you
go.
hear me?
Ask the question.
So in relation to Eman's question, I was wondering if Parcel, I missed the part where Parcel can have its own configuration. Is there like
Sorry,
configuration for
I
Parcel?
got
And if that,
Teman's relayed message question, right? Did you ask if like a parcel has reached the part where it will a point where it needs its own configuration?
yeah, I mean that's the first part of the question because I missed the part where um so really so na by so the
can you have your own configuration for parcel? Okay. Okay, I just think that I just assumed that was a question. For different plugins you're using with Parcel, they have their own config files, right? For example, if with ImageMin for image compression, ImageMin has its own config file, Babel has its own config file, things like that. There are some things that you can configure with Parcel. For example, the port that your local host that will serve your app, and you can pass it as CLI flags. For example, apparently. um, um, so as I was saying, there's if the question was has parcel reached a point where it needs its own config file? Um, Before I answer that, there are some things that you can configure with parcel. For example, what port it will serve your app, or what which directory it will output your build files. So you can pass them as CLI flags. And also, I think with the upcoming version of Parcel, I think maybe so I don't know the actual version, but with upcoming version of Parcel, I've read an article about it where it will start having its own config file, if I remember correctly. So I think it has.
Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, follow-up question. Since it has some sort of um, okay, i-relay na lang man. Nagahi siya man.
What?
What's
Ako na
the
i-type.
Okay, I can hear you.
Can you hear now? Okay. Uh, follow-up question, Dads. So so Parcel has some sort of simple config. So are we able to add some configuration like add aliases, or that's aliases for our imports in our JS files? And can we also configure where like folders, or like the folder structure when we when we when the build files are done, something like that?
So I think with the build files, Parser will output like um, a flat structure for all the for all the build files, and I haven't really checked if it's possible to structure them in different directories because I never really used it for that. As for aliases, um, um, I think there has to be a way. Let me check the parcel repo. Okay, so there's an issue in Parcel to add support for aliases. Apparently, you can do it by adding an alias in your package JSON. So if in your package JSON, you can add an alias or like an alias map to a directory, and then you can just use those aliases directly um, in your code.
Okay.
Okay, so I guess that would be it for Parcel. So we can move on to the next presentation from Faye. Thank you.
24 minutes na ta. Okay, Rane, mula pas. Hello?
Well, Blima.
Okay. I think we're going to be 1 hour this one. For me, I'll be sharing about deployment automation. So here's my screen. So yeah, for me, it will be Ansible. So it's a way to automate your deployments and server configurations. So I'll start. Let's go already. So yeah. So here's an example of a file for deploying or creating a user to a DigitalOcean instance. So I already created an instance here. So we'll be using this machine. Like Ansible is a Red Hat, is made by Red Hat. And then it will help you automate everything that you need to do when you're deploying. For example, like it solves the problem where you have to SSH in every machine just to install or set up your projects. So with the help of Ansible, like it's just a one-liner code for you to deploy on your production and testing servers and other servers that you have. So let's start with let's talk about its module. So in order for Ansible to deploy your configurations in a server, it uses modules. So modules are just programs that will be sent to the server, and it will be executed there. And once it's executed, it will just immediately remove. So there are a lot of modules already made for every thing that the developers need. So this is the list of the modules of Ansible. Actually, it's an open source, so like you can create your own if the module that you need is not here in the list. So let's start with programming. So like as I've mentioned, we're using the modules. So I can show you here, this part. So every steps here, these are all modules, and we have, this is the name. And then every module define a task, and like one module is equivalent to one task. So if we talk about or use the app module, it just means that it's use the app of Linux systems to install some packages. So like it's, you can think of it as a helper function for you, and then you'll just have to call it. For example, this is one task. So the first step that we're doing here is just like install packages and prerequisites. The name here just describes what this step or this module is doing, so that it will be easy for you to debug later. And then let's proceed to the next one so that we can have the variables. It's using variables or parameters. Like for the group one, the description of the group module is here. Sorry, I don't think so. Yeah, it's just manages what, like some groupings on your users. So yeah, what we do here is like just check if wheel is already present in our system, like here in our machine. And then after that, when it passes, we will configure that the user that will access the server will not need any password one to log in. Like we just have to bypass the password here. And then after that, we just create this step. This defines the creation of users. So like basically, I was just talking about what the modules are doing. So the module here is called users, and yeah, as the name suggests, it manages all the creation, update, or like changes that you have, or anything that you want to need about the system user within your server or your machine, like host machine. So enough of that. Like there's a list of modules here if you notice. So these are like steps, like a recipe and everything. And all of this is called a play. So like a play is just one configuration. That means everything that you do manually will be translated into this list of tasks. And then the next question is, where do we execute these tasks? So that is defined in your host variables here of the play. So I just refer to it as all so that it will be executed in all the listed servers that we have listed. And then this become module here just means that we need the user, for example, the root, for example, to be the root, or like if it's not the root, for example, I just have a user Faye, it will elevate the um, permissions of Faye, like to have root permissions, or so it's like sudo, like you have sudo. So the next one is uh, in the play, you can use different variables. So we can define it here. So this is just a single file, but if you have a complex structure, it's a best practice is to put it on a different directory. And everything here can be accessed in globally in all your files. So like remote user, if this is not a one file configuration, it can be accessed as any files you have. For example, if you have another configuration for uh, Google Computing Engine, so it will be available also here. But for now, we only have one file, so we can put it here and access everything in here. So it's not global right now. So what we do here is like, this is the name of the user. So let's change that. And then what this couple local file key defines, like uses a lookup module, and then it will just look for the address of the file here, this file, and then the home. So in this whole file, in the entirety of this everything, so since we call this play, right, the whole file is called a playbook. So a playbook is just like the list of tasks that you need to do and where you will execute all those files. Like it's just it defines the list of tasks that you need to do and where to execute those files. So that's the whole playbook. A playbook can also define like more than one numbers of plays. So for now, we only have one. But like you can let's try. You can copy all this and then just insert another another play here. So until your whole configuration on that server finishes. So like we can do something install Nginx here and then configure Nginx something. So yeah. For now, let's just for the sake of the demo, let's just create a user and then SSH to it to check if this whole playbook is valid or works. If it doesn't work, just trust me, it will work. So yeah, I think I forgot something. Yeah, if you noticed here, I only define all as a server. So if you wanna ask where all is defined or like where the file gets the list of servers or hosts, it's in another file. You can define it as hosts, and then this is this is where you list all your servers, and then you can group them. So this is the name of the group, and just define your uh, hosts under this group, and then you can call the group, not the exact host, so that like it will be easy to for reference. So let's try this one. I think for now, let's just SSH first to the root of, just to check if it's working. Oh yeah, so we're inside the server now, the DigitalOcean server. So let's try creating a user named. So that means it's not yet, yeah, there's no user yet available in the server. So let's try creating one by using this playbook. So just one liner code. So yeah, so this is the command to deploy or like create a user in the remote host. So like you just have to call the Ansible playbook and then the file of your playbook, and then this L means the list of the hosts where you want to execute the playbook, which is DigitalOcean, which is this one. So everything under this group, uh, yeah, everything under this group will be accessed. So like if you have a lot of servers, like another one here, so every host that we have under the list will have the user Faye 2. For now, let's just access the servers first using the root and create a user. Hey, create a user, create this user. Okay, let's start. If you can see the screen, I don't know how to zoom this one in. So yeah.
We can see it.
Yeah, so as I've mentioned, the name is easy for debugging. So if it fails somewhere within your step, so you will know because it's described here. So yeah, yeah. So this is all the steps that we have, and then I have the debug module here. So the debug module is just like the print in Python or in Java or the console.log. So yeah, I think this is a success. So let's try again SSH ing to the server using Faye2 user. And then tada, it fails. Ah yeah, fine. Yeah, it works. So we're already inside the server now. So yeah, the playbook works. So yeah, any questions?
I have a question. So, in the playbook, there's the host. I don't know, module, or is that like some sort of parameter? But you also pass the -l flag when you invoke the command. So what's the difference between like hosts and the -l in your um, command?
Okay. So for I've noticed that uh, you can do two things. It's either define a file or a playbook specifically for just one group, and then uh, do not define it in your command for what groups of servers you have. It's just like a choice between the two. So what I did was like, for convenience, like I want to, since the creating of users in a real world application is like for all servers that you have, so I just defined all. But since we can you can just adjust, I'm not sure what the term, I forgot about the term. Yeah, it's just like an option for you if whichever is convenient for you. But yeah, the same the very same way you can specify the group of servers that you want to be accessed in the command using L. You can also do that in the file itself, so that you'll just uh, define the file in your command and not define everything. Not
Okay,
define
so
L.
the CLI flag will override or will have higher priority than
You
the one
froze
defined in the file. Can you hear
again.
me? So the
I didn't
flag on
get
the
the last.
CLI command has higher priority than the one on defined on the
Ah,
file. So it will.
yeah. If that's a question, yes, yeah. It has higher priorities. It will check if it's defined, and then it will Ansible will access that one. But if when it's not defined, it will just look up in the file and see what's inside the host parameter.
How about
I have a question.
okay,
Okay.
Kevin? Let's go
Sige,
ahead.
go.
So you demoed local machine deploy, right? Do you know if there's an integration for this on um, like GitHub, GitLab? Like pwede na siya ibutan sa GitHub o GitLab o na makarun siya or anything? Just integration.
Like
Wala.
automatic integration nga wala ko kagad sa question.
Yeah, like example. Uh, so so example like na may common flow na where you push to master, then na yung pipelines mo run. So instead of like example sa GitLab pipelines, na integration na Git Ansible na playbook ang mo run. Do you know any?
Yeah. Honestly, wala pa ko kaabot ana ang usage, so I'm not sure.
No, okay. Okay.
So, sige,
So,
i-check na ko na later. I'll check it later. And I'll be
Yeah,
right
but
back to you.
to install Ansible, you just have what do you
Yeah.
install?
I'm sorry, I forgot about that. You'll just have to install the package itself. Oh, wait.
FYI, not sharing your screen.
Daan na dito sa mga
Yeah, you just
joke.
have to use pip, and then it's there.
So it's a
Oh,
Python package. It's
yeah,
a Python package.
yeah. And it's easy to use. So it's because it's use YAML, and like the learning curve, it's very easy. Kuya Arnelle, what's your question?
Actually, I might just ask my question. How do you install Ansible playbook?
What?
No, actually, I might just ask my question. I was going to ask how to install Ansible playbook, but
Okay, yeah.
you just said did install. So, does anyone else have a question? We have Suran and Terrence on the stream.
Terrence Darrell, hello.
Hello, Dad.
Hello.
Hindi ka maklaro. Siguro ay mo may.
Okay, anyone else has questions? None from me.
Nakakatawa pero.
Can I ask a noob question?
What?
Okay.
Yes, go ahead, Darrell.
Master,
I
yeah,
understand.
Master.
Yeah, I understand that this is kind of like an automation, right? Then
Yes.
I'm a noob even with Docker. So how do you compare this with Docker? Something like that.
For Docker is not really for deployment, I guess. Like it just create a environment. The way I understand it, I'm not so sure. I haven't
Yeah.
honestly used Docker yet. So like it's just it just create an environment, or like a little environment in the server for you, right? For you, right?
Mm.
In so that you won't have to worry about versions of your packages or the dependencies. Uh, Ansible is like really like for automation. So you can use, you can deploy or run Docker inside Ansible. So like, uh, mm, yeah, the difference between, wait, let me think. So, yeah, like Ansible is just really like for deployment and everything. Di
Okay.
ko sure. Kuya Eman,
If I understand,
correct me if I'm wrong.
if I understand both correctly, I think they're not comparable. I think they can be used
Like
alongside
A
each
and
other
B, uh,
because
like
Docker simplifies how you create your like environments, but Ansible automates commands inside those environments. So you can automate commands inside like an existing server, like DigitalOcean, I think. And if I'm guessing it right, I think you can use Ansible to automate some commands inside a Docker container. I'm not sure,
Oh,
but I
yeah,
think they do
yeah,
different things.
yeah, yeah. That's what I mean when you can like run Docker using Ansible. Like Ansible just like it bundles up everything that you have to do in different servers when deploying. So
okay. Mm.
and then Docker like encapsulate those environment for you inside the host already.
Okay.
So it's
Mm.
not comparable. Like Ansible is just a bridge. It creates a bridge between your control machine to your remote machine. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Thank
I
you,
think I get
Master.
it now. Thank you. Thank you, Faye.
Any other questions?
I think good.
Yeah, I'm good. I think we're good.
Hey
Wow.
man, question man.
Actually, I have a question. So last. So Ansible is strictly over SSH. Like
Mm, so
uh,
far,
I actually don't know any other way to like directly connect to like a remote server other than SSH. Maybe there is something else, but is it strictly over SSH?
uh, oh, give me a sec. Yeah, so far I've used it over SSH. Yet I haven't used it without SSH. Not aside other way other than SSH. But I have tried connecting it locally using localhost. Yeah, I'm not sure about that, Kuya, but so far I've used it only using SSH. So and yeah, with the localhost thing. So I haven't tried using other way of connecting it.
Yeah, I guess it's okay. I mean, SSH is the
It's
the go-to, and anyway, no one uses Telnet or something else
I'm
anymore.
The standard key,
It's a standard.
basically.
so yeah.
Ako yung last
We
question.
have, we have
Go
a
rebels.
comments.
Sige,
Um,
go. Sige, ke. So, para 1 hour ni siya, para 1 hour. Let go.
last question. Di, di naman you don't need Ansible on your servers, right? You just need Ansible on your local machine or your
Yeah,
machine
yeah.
where you want to run the Ansible
Yeah,
task
actually,
or
one of the
things like.
advantages. Sorry. Yeah, actually, one of the advantages of Ansible is that it's agentless. So you only have to install your Ansible in your control machine, which is the one you're using to access the remote machine. What it does is like you have a module defined, and then it every step like it will pass that module or like that file inside your machine, and then it will a remote machine, and then it will execute it there. I don't know how yet. And then once the module is done or the module did what it's meant to do, it will remove it there and then take down another step, send that module again, and then remove it when it's done. So yeah, you don't have to install it in your remote hosts.
So, any other questions or are we good?
I'm good na.
Icon and Vortex. Any comments in Vortex?
Hello, shout out.
Please like and subscribe.
Okay, so I think we're all good. If you have more questions, you can leave it in the comments and we'll check it out later. So that would be it for this episode, which is longer than usual, but it's good. um, so please, so that will be it for today, and see you in the next episode, everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you for having us.